But if you and I choose to live from a place of love, compassion, and kindness, it opens doors for us.
What's the best relationship advice you've ever heard?
Make a list.
A life is a tragedy in close-up and a comedy in long shot.
Here's how you start a charcoal barbecue.
11 things people learn too late in life.
Okay, besties, it's been a while since we've done relationship advice.
How do you lead effectively?
Hope that you'll use that telephone number right now and call in.
Have you ever seen that video of the ant and the pen?
No.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to anybody watching online. My name's Pete, and we're in a series called Scrolling for Wisdom, where we are scouring the internet. We are scouring the world of reels and shorts and TikToks looking for wisdom. And if you're thinking that you don't know what any of those words mean, well, then you are probably over 60 years old. And you are not a part of the crazy world of reels, shorts, and TikToks that the rest of us are. And so please pray for the rest of us while we engage in this series. But today, what we're going to be focusing on is scrolling for marriage wisdom. Scrolling for marriage wisdom. Anybody married to somebody that sends them little reels every once in a while? Or maybe a lot? Like anytime they find something that, you know, there might be two characters and there's a little hint in the thing, they're like, you're one of these people. You figure out which one. My wife likes to send me these, not like the ones to like, you know, prod me on to maybe like I'm in one of them, but just anytime she finds something funny. Anytime she finds something funny on the internet. So much to the point where she sends me so many funny reels that I've had to tell her like, babe, I know that there are funny things on the internet. I know that so if you just find funny things on the internet, just laugh, and then you don't have to share everyone with me. And so she'll ask me sometimes, like, did you see what I sent you? Did you see and I'll be like, was it a funny thing you found on the internet? Yeah, it was really fun. I'm like, I didn't need to see it. It's okay. I'm aware that there are funny things on the internet. But I have to admit that sometimes some of these reels that she sends me or that I find on my own, they're not just funny. They actually contain some real wisdom. Like these 30-second to 1-minute little short videos, sometimes they make me pause. Sometimes you gotta like rewind. I gotta watch that again. Sometimes like you stop scrolling because you're like, that was profound. And I have to say, I've actually learned a lot of things, particularly about relationships, from these funny little reels that we scroll through. And so today what I wanna offer you is a whole collection of these reels, all under the big umbrella theme of marriage. And if you're not married, then I think that a lot of this still applies to just relationships in general. But I want to offer you some reels and then some reflections about marriage, some topics for you to think about, hoping that maybe you'll take one idea away from this morning. But let me just warn you, there will be a lot of reels in this sermon. There'll be a lot of TikToks in this sermon. Some might say one too many. I think perfect amount. But just so you know, it's the middle of July and you're in church. Like, you should get to have fun, right? Right. At least one person wants to have fun. You and I are going to have a great time. Okay, so, I hope that still works. Here we go. First reflection today. How do you feel about marriage? If you're not married, think about the people that you know that are married. What do you think about their marriage? If you are married, what do you think about your own marriage? What do you think about marriage? If you're on your way to getting married, what do you think that that's going to be like? What do you think? Here's a couple reels, and I wonder if they resonate with you.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. I wash the clothes, fold the clothes, and put the clothes away for everyone in the family.
Hi, I'm Chris.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. I keep up with the endless pile of dishes always in the sink.
Hi, I'm Chris.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. I'm constantly picking up after everyone in this house.
Hi, I'm Chris.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. I tell everyone what they need to do on any given day, even though it's written right here for everyone to see.
I'm Chris.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. I make sure the dog has food and water or else he would die.
Hi, I'm Chris.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. I'm a mind reader because I'm supposed to know that this means we need more ketchup.
Hey.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. Along with the other million tasks I have to do in a day, I also have to make sure this family gets fed.
I'm Chris.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. I do everything to make sure this household runs smoothly.
So many wives trying to figure out the appropriate amount of laughter. What is the allowed amount of laughter to go home in a happy car ride home? This is what do you think about marriage? I think marriage is It's often unbalanced. It's often one person's lazy and one person does everything. It's the imbalanced thing. What do you think about marriage? How do you feel about marriage? How about this? Is this maybe closer to what you think about marriage?
Hey, babe. Did you know that I am is the shortest sentence in the English language?
I didn't know that.
Do you know what the longest sentence is?
What's the longest sentence?
I do.
Bit of a slow burn. Some of you just getting it now. Good. What do you think of marriage? When you think of marriage, what do you think? One more.
Guys, being married is the best thing that I've ever done in my life. It is so amazing. Okay, listen up. I only got like 5 seconds before I can tell you the truth. Don't get married. It's the worst decision I ever made. I used to sleep in when I wanted to. I played video games all night. I could drink all I wanted and get wasted, and no one would get mad at me. But now I'm just stuck. And I love my wife very much. And there is nothing better than being in a great relationship with a wonderful woman.
What do you think? What do you think about marriage? We're in a culture where ideas like that are kind of like the dominant thing. Kind of like the trope around marriage is like, yeah, oftentimes it's imbalanced. There's a lazy person, a hardworking person. Oftentimes, it feels like a jail. It feels like a prison, like, oh, the old ball and chain. Like that's kind of where culture, like it's cool to be negative about marriage. And I wonder if any of that has seeped into your view of marriage or even of your own marriage. In Genesis, the first book in the Bible, in the 2nd chapter, we get a picture of the first marriage. God has created the first human, the man, and he has realized that the man is lonely. And so he places the man kind of like in a dreamlike state, kind of like under some anesthetic, and there's like this surgery type thing that happens, and apparently he's like split in two. And from his side, like from one half of him, God creates the woman. And when the man wakes from this state, he sees his bride and he proclaims, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man. That is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh." The biblical picture of marriage is of seeing the other and saying, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, and of two becoming one. This is, by the way, the passage that Jesus quotes directly when he's talking about marriage. The biblical picture of marriage is meant to be two people that become one so that they can go through life together in the joys and in the sufferings, all walking side by side together. So reflection number 1 this morning, what do you think about marriage? Have the negative concepts crept in, and have you started to believe them? And stop believing that a marriage could actually be this. No, it's beautiful. Two becoming one. Reflection number 2. Why get married at all? Why do people get married? If you're like thinking about getting married, why would you ever do that? And if you already are married, do you ever like sit around sometimes and think like, why did I do this? Why are we married? I want to show you a clip from one of the most prominent divorce lawyers in America. And as far as I can tell, he's not a follower of Jesus, so you may experience him as a little bit intense, and that's okay. I still think that there's some wisdom in what he has to say. But check out this clip. He's one of the most prominent divorce lawyers, which means he's seen hundreds, thousands of people come through his office that are getting divorced, and he's seen what leads to the breakdown in marriages. And this is one of the clips that I saw from a podcast that I watched that he was on.
We know, facts, marriage is overwhelmingly unsuccessful. It is way more dangerous than skydiving. Yes, you die from the skydiving, but the chances of a catastrophic skydiving incident is like 0.0003, and one where you die is 0.00001. It's like very limited, the chances of dying from skydiving. Whereas the chances of divorce, again, 56% divorce rate. How many stay together who are unhappy and they just stay together because they don't want to give up half their stuff or for religious reasons or whatever? This is a technology with an unbelievably bad failure rate.
Do more people die from marriage or skydiving?
Well, I think more people wish they were dead from marriage than skydiving. I think most people's sense of self, many people's sense of self dies as part of an unhappy marriage. Like, it's not a question of will you die. It's that you're alive and not living your life in a way that's enjoyable or in a way that's authentic to who you are. And I think a lot of people are doing that as a function of the choice that they made of marriage. And again, I'm not saying don't get married. But what I'm saying is, when someone says, I'm getting married, why is it impolite to say, why? Why? You're about to do something incredibly dangerous that fails so much of the time. Why not just say, why? I'm not saying, why would you do that? It's stupid. I'm saying, why? Because most people's answer doesn't make any sense. Well, because, I don't want to be alone. Wait, you have to get married to not be alone? Join a church group. I don't know. Join a baking squad. Join a softball team. You won't be alone. What does that mean? Well, I want to have, regular sex. Okay, I don't know that getting married is the solution to that. Like, it's not a guarantee of regular sex. Like, that's not, so if the question, first of all, you're not even allowed to ask the question why. If anything, if you don't say, oh my God, that's so great, you have intimacy issues.
I love that clip. If you're thinking about getting married and you're like, we should go meet with Pastor Pete, you're going to see that clip. And if not that clip, I'm just going to say exactly what that guy just said. Why? Why would you, what? Have you really thought about this? Which is a little bit hypocritical of me, because my wife and I got engaged 6 weeks after meeting one another. Wow, I know. And early on in the marriage, people would say like, well, you only knew each other for 6 weeks, but it's all working out now. And I would say, yeah, so far. And I would get the reaction I just got in this room, which is like, but hey, listen, I double checked. We've been married for almost 16 years, okay? 3 kids, everything's great. So now I can look back and say, it was all, it's all worked out. But did we really know what the heck we were doing back then? No. What were we doing? We just thought each other were hot, right? That's how it works. And you're laughing, but I used to have a full head of hair, okay? And I tell my boys, I'm like, guys, this is coming. So find a girl, lock it down before this comes. You gotta do it. We didn't know what we were doing. We hadn't sat down and thought, like, why are we really doing this? Why? Are you able to sit down, if you're on your way to marriage, and really ask that question? And if you're already married, are you brave enough to ask the person that you're married to, why are we married? What's the purpose here? There's some good answers. Some good answers might sound like, well, we want to be fruitful and multiply. We want to create a godly family, a context for raising kids, disciples of Jesus. That's a great answer. We want to experience the joy of intimacy, of intimately knowing another person to a level that no other people do in a marriage. That's a good answer. We want to help each other grow to become more like Jesus. We want to help each other spur one another on as iron sharpens iron. That's a good answer. We want people to be able to see the love of God modeled in our marriage and in our family. That would be a good answer. But have you had that conversation? Did you have that conversation? Are you willing to have that conversation now? Why is it that we're married? That same divorce lawyer in the podcast that I watched him on, he goes on another bit of a rant, but he says that he also does a ton of prenuptial agreements, like where you make decisions, legal arrangements before you get married in case you were ever to get divorced and what that would look like. And no judgment on prenups or not. I'm interested in the insight that he makes about them. And he says he's done hundreds, probably thousands of prenups. And from his experience, he would say that the couples who do prenups are least likely to get divorced. That the couples who get a prenup are least likely to get divorced. Now, again, I'm not saying like, so therefore, go get one. I'm just interested in his insight that he says after this. He says what he thinks the reason for that is this, that the people who are the types of people who can sit down and have the conversation that a prenup requires are the type of people that are going to be successful in marriage. Because a prenup's a bit of an awkward conversation. A prenup's a bit of a, we're going to make these decisions, we're going to make, like, what are we going to do with the money, what are we going to do with the kids, what are we going to do with the property, what are we going to, like, that's an awkward kind of like, can we both be mature enough, can we both be adults enough to have this conversation? And his insight is, the people that can ask those big questions and have those conversations, those actually lead to successful marriages. Can you ask the question, why? Why is it that we're married? By the way, I joke about us getting engaged 6 weeks after we met. That is true. And while we didn't have maybe the conversation of like, why are we getting married? We were quite clear about one thing. And that is that we were both devoted followers of Jesus. And that he was the foundation for our lives. And that he would be the foundation for our marriage. And so we knew that this marriage wouldn't be built on just our love for one another, but on our love for Jesus. And in the times when marriage has been the hardest, I can tell you that it is not our love for one another that has sustained us. It is our love for Jesus that has sustained us, and it is his love for us that has held us together. Why? Reflection number 2, why? Reflection number 3. How's your marriage? If you're married, how's it going? Is it just this sort of like getting better and better and sweeter every day? Oh, or is it closer to some of those clips that we watched earlier on? Sometimes I think we fall into what I like to call the default postures in marriage, like the default conversations that go on in our heads. And so let's have some fun and listen to some of what those default conversations sound like.
My husband leaves his toothbrush out when it simply just goes in the trunk, right where it belongs. It's not difficult.
This is the plank in your own eye and the toothbrush on your husband's counter. How many know that conversation? How about this one? You know this conversation?
My mom did my dad's laundry growing up, so I thought all wives do husband's laundry. And I've always done my own. And to be honest, I felt it had been forgotten about over these past 17 years. The sacrifice I was making that other husbands didn't have to make. One day, I was like driving home, and it popped in my head, and I was like, all right, I'll bring that up. I mean, I didn't bring it up that day, you know. I was like, I'm sure there will be a time where we'll be in some fight, I'll be losing this fight, and then, I just come, I'm like, I do my own laundry. She's like, fight's over. You win, I forgot how good I got it.
That's my favorite. I've seen that clip all morning, and it still makes me laugh. I do my own. How many know that though? How many like you know that default of like, how am I going to win this argument? One more clip around this like these internal monologues that we have. The next one I got to set it up a bit. There's 3 characters in this one, and it's a guy, and he's in a fight with his wife. And he's like, basically, you're going to see the internal monologue that he's having with his brain. And part of his brain he's talking to is the amygdala, which is like the fight or flight. It's like the, we got to win this fight part. And he's talking to that part. And then he talks to the prefrontal cortex, which is more the like rational side of his brain, that's saying like, hey, we should calm down. We should listen to her feelings and we should see what's going on here. And so he's trying to decide which of those 2 he should go with.
Hey guys, she's doing that thing again where she brings up her feelings. I was just wondering, what I should do. Okay, I think we can all agree that it's important for us to remember that we love this woman. No reason to overreact. Prepare for battle, gentlemen. I'm sorry, what? It's a full-scale assault. Batten the hatches. No, we're not going to prepare for battle. She wasn't attacking us. She was just sharing something that hurt her. Defend, dismiss, invalidate. Go in with the classics. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Hold on, let's talk about this like adults. Don't listen to prefrontal pansy over here. She's calling you a bad partner. You're going to let that stand? Remind her of how hard you work for this family. Good idea. No, that's not going to work. That's never worked. You know his suggestions are terrible, right? Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Pick one now. Hey, I've got a great idea. How about we think about this rationally for just a second? I choose fight. Why are we fighting? All she did was share a feeling with us. She triggered my shame. That's on her. Okay, so what am I supposed to say? Say thank you for telling me what's on your heart. Ask questions to better understand what she's feeling. Say nothing I do is good enough. Please don't start this again. Why are you always making a big deal about nothing? Stop. She's just staring at me. I need an answer, guys. You do the same thing to me and you don't hear me complaining. Listen, you gotta hear me out. She just wants to feel heard and understood. She just wants her feelings validated as real. We can still set healthy boundaries around accusations or yelling or blame, right? But let's try to be a safe place for her. Too many words. Everybody stopped listening. Let's do this. All right, I think I'll start with why were you ruining the good day that we were having? And that'll probably snap her out of it. Morons.
She triggered my shame. That's on her. Oh, there's so many good lines in there. But how many people don't know some of these internal monologues? You're walking around the house. I can't believe I live with this pig, leaving this crap all around. I do my own laundry. I should go with the amygdala, not the prefrontal cortex. How many people, that feeling of like, I just want to win. I just want to be right. What if we could get back to the bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh? What if we could be softer with each other? Like softer, like because we actually love this other person? Sometimes I think about, talking about feelings, and you think like, well, culturally, men don't like to talk about their feelings. But I know that's a bit of a stereotype, and it can go either way. But what if we cared about each other's feelings more? And I can sense like a bunch of guys in the room are like, are we about to talk about feelings? I hate feelings. I know the feeling, which is why I have a clip for this, about how we guys, or people who fit into the stereotype of the person in the relationship who doesn't like to talk about feelings, this is what it feels like when you're in an argument to have to talk about feelings.
I think the thing I love about my marriage the most is like we argue really well. Right in the heat of it, we'll be like, and I'm like, this is healthy. Like, we've both been to therapy, so we know how to argue. Like I've learned that I have to acknowledge your feelings, which that's a big one. I used to just argue about the facts like an idiot. That's not what it's about, all right? It's about facts and how she feels about them. And like an idiot, I was there like, I never said that, And my therapist helped me out. My therapist was like, have you ever just tried acknowledging your feelings? I was like, why would I do that? And not saying like, why would I acknowledge your feelings ever, but in an argument. That's not feelings time. That's how my brain works. There's facts time, then there's feelings time. And I didn't know that those two intermingle, Like for me, feelings time is on the couch where I'm like, oh, I love you, I love our life. And then argument time is, I never said that. That's not what I said. But I can be honest with you, it works. It works. Like I acknowledge your feelings, so I know how to argue. Like she was like, but you said, and then I was like, I'm so sorry I made you feel that way. That must feel horrible to feel that way, and I feel awful that I had any part in making you feel that way. And she's like, thank you. And I'm like, oh yeah, it works. And then I was like, but for the record, I never said that. All right. All I've really done is I've moved the apology from the back to the front. And then we can have the regular argument after the fact. But I've noticed that really helps.
There is so much wisdom packed into that little comedic bit. What if we could be softer with each other? What if we could, I've heard this said many different times, what if in the middle of a conflict, we could get curious? Rather than, I'm gonna try to win, I never said that. What if we could get curious? What's really going on here? And what if we could get curious about how the other person's feeling? It sounds a lot like what James, which is a letter that we have in our New Testament, in our Bible. It's often considered wisdom literature, the book of James. But James says this, be quick to listen and slow to speak and slow to become angry. What is that? How would you embody it? It would be like this. Quick to listen. I want to hear, what are you actually feeling? What's actually going on? Quick to figure out what's actually being said here, and slow to speak, because I realize how much power words have. The wisdom in this little comedic bit, it sounds a lot like the letter that Paul writes to the church in Corinth. The famous 1 Corinthians chapter 13, the love is the definition of love. Love is patient. Love is patient. What if in the middle of a fight you could be patient? Because when a fight happens, what do? You got to win. You got to win now. You got to win quick. Things are in jeopardy. You got to make your point. What if, no, love is patient enough to, you know what? Maybe I feel right. Maybe I feel like I am right, but I can be patient enough. We can get to that part later. Let's deal with feelings first. Let's deal with what's really going on. Let's have the conversation, because love is patient and love is kind. What if we could be softer with each other? What if we could be gentler with each other? What if we could do, there's gentle parenting. The jury's still out on that one. We'll see how your kids turn out. But what if we could do gentle husbanding? What might that look like? It might look like this.
Oh my God. Shut the door.
What's all this slamming?
Nothing, I'm just cleaning up.
Looks like you're having some big feelings.
I'm not. I'm just shutting doors.
No, let's talk about it. I get upset too when drawers aren't shut. Let's take some deep breaths together. Ready? Inhale.
My husband and I are recently having some
big feelings.
I was going to say communication issues, but yeah, big feelings. So that's when we started this new approach called
gentle husbanding.
Gentle husband. Cups on top, because that's what Chris does. I'll put it wherever I want.
You okay in here?
I'm just loading the dishwasher.
Dishwashers can be like a puzzle, huh?
I guess. My brain doesn't like puzzles.
How about we set a timer and we'll do it together?
Okay. That why stop there? I began gentle wifing as well.
I'm just saying we should think about getting one.
You're upset because we can't buy that Springer van. I get sad too when I can't buy a Springer van. You can put a Springer van on your wish list for next year. How about that?
Yeah.
I think it's been really successful. Remind me again where bowls go?
On the top?
Yeah.
Dishwashers can be like a puzzle, can't they? I know that's how I feel. I was surprised to have the roles reversed in this one. What if we could be gentler with each other? My favorite definition of gentleness is power under control. Power under control. When you're the one who's right in the argument, and you know that you're right, and you know that you have the facts on your side, that you choose to take that power and place it under control. I won't use that as a weapon against the other person. When you realize that you're the person who's better at fighting, you're better at arguing, you're the better debater, so you can win arguments, even the ones that you're wrong. You can still win them. But you take that power and you place it under control because you want to be gentle. Because the Spirit of Jesus who lives within you wants to bring the fruit of gentleness forth in your life and in your marriage. What if we could be gentler with one another? And what if the vision for our marriages could be the picture that we get in Genesis chapter 2 of the first man and the first woman? Bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, the two become one. And then the narrator tells us, Adam and his wife were both naked and they felt no shame. What if the vision for marriage was to be completely known and to completely know the other person, and for neither of you to feel any shame, and for neither of you to be trying to have the other person feel shame about themselves? How's your marriage going? Are you willing to work on it? Are you willing to make changes? As a pastor, I get to sit with couples sometimes who come and meet with me, and they, sometimes things aren't going so well and they want to talk. And as a human, I also am around other married people from time to time. And you know that feeling of like when you're with a couple and there's just like a friction between them? There's like is this you guys on your best behavior because you're out in public? Because I can't imagine what it's like at your house normally. Okay, we got too real there. Way too quiet for a second. Sometimes I'm around couples and I sense that, right? You sense that like, man, this is tough. Like this marriage is tough to be in. And as I've reflected on it over the years and trying to figure out like what happened here, like what's going on here, here's my diagnosis. I think that one or both of the people in the marriage are in something that they didn't sign up for. That they're in a marriage that they didn't realize what marriage was. And so now they're on, like they did it. They didn't ask all the big questions. They didn't really think about it. They didn't have the tough conversations. And now they're on the inside of marriage and they're realizing just how hard it is. They're realizing that to have a successful marriage requires a type of death. That marriage is a crucifixion of your pride and your selfishness and your impatience and your guardedness and wanting to avoid being vulnerable. It is designed to kill all of that so that a new you can emerge, the one that God created you to be. And sometimes when there is just friction in a marriage, it's because somebody in the marriage is realizing, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up to die, which leaves you with a decision to make. Maybe a decision some of you are mulling over in your brains right now. Well, I didn't sign up for this, so I should find a way out. I should find a way to get out of this. I should find a way to leave. Well, that's one option. Another option is, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up to change, and so I'm staying who I am. I'm not changing. That's another option. The third option is to surrender. To surrender to the God who created marriage as a gift. As a gift to purge you from that pride and selfishness and impatience, as a gift to be strengthened to become more and more of the person that he created you to be. And if you can surrender to that, you will find that change is possible and that your marriage can actually get better. A couple weeks ago, my wife brought home this bag from Costco. You know what Costco's like? You're walking down the aisles and you got to make a decision. You got to make big decisions. There's no tiny packages that you can buy at Costco. There's only $20 packages that you can buy at Costco. And my wife comes home, we're unloading the $1,000 worth of groceries from Costco, and in the mix is this. 2 kilograms of dill pickle peanuts. Now, if you were watching like surveillance footage of our family and you saw this come home, you would think, boy, that family loves them some dill pickle peanuts. But you would be wrong. For no one in our family has ever had dill pickle peanuts. And so my wife was just hoping that perhaps our family would enjoy 2 kilograms of dill pickle peanuts. And so the family begins to try these, and we all hate them. There was a family gathering a couple days ago. I didn't go, but about 20 of the family were together. And so I sent my boys on a mission. Boys, get rid of these peanuts. Put them in everybody's salads. Just start dumping them on trays. Feed them to the squirrels. What can you do? They came back, 2 kilograms of dill pickle peanuts. Nobody likes these. We're going to have these peanuts for the rest of our lives, because I'm not throwing them out. Early in our marriage, these peanuts could have caused a multi-day fight, which you might be like, that's extreme. Over peanut. Guys, I'm Dutch, which means it is in my DNA to be cheap and stubborn. I could have turned this into a several-day fight. What were you thinking? 2 kilograms of dill pickle peanuts? What kind of idiot buys 2 kilograms of... I could have easily said condescending things. I could have easily tried to, maybe even if I tried to say, what was the thought process? She could have reacted in an overreactive way. Like, well, you want to judge my shopping? You could be the one to go to Costco, and you could, because I'm the one that always said, ugh. That's what it would have been like earlier. But through lots of conversations and lots of learning to trust each other and lots of learning to believe the best in the other person, now, when these things came home and I realized nobody was going to eat them, I just laugh. We got this big, and then I started looking in the cupboards. There's other giant bags of peanuts. There's one of these like macadamia nuts that are supposed to heal your brain or something, give you magical powers. I don't know what they were, but it was some other sale. Now I just laugh. And by the way, if you invite us for a summer barbecue this summer, I'll be bringing you these dill pickle peanuts, but your marriage can get better. It just takes a decision. How much longer do you want to keep having the same fights? How much longer do you still want to live in a house that lacks peace? All it takes is a decision. 2 people to decide, this is our project. We're going to make this thing better. And my hope in this, hopefully funny, too many TikTok Reels sermon was the hope was to provide a launching point for some of you this morning. That this is going to be the moment when you are able to look at each other later today and you're like, so what do you think of today's sermon? Think we should get some help? Think we should work on some stuff? Think we should implement some new strategies? Because some of you know exactly what it's like to fight over dill pickle peanuts. But there's a much better life ahead. It's just up to you to decide. Let's pray before we go. God, we ask you to bless those of us who are married here. Bless those of us who are thinking about marriage. God, bless those of us who you have called to singleness. God, for marriages that are not in a healthy place this morning, I hope that this is a fresh start. That through the gift of humor, you create a launching point for humility and forgiveness and for 2 people to look at each other and say, let's start. Can we just start fresh? Let's just start again. And what will we do different this time to get a different outcome? God, we want our marriages to be a reflection of your love. And so would you help us to have strong, healthy marriages by the power of your Spirit? Jesus, we ask these things in your name. Amen.